All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. We get together most weekday mornings at 8 o'clock Central, talk about strategies, tips, techniques, share success stories, and support each of you. Today is 9/11/2024. So we keep in our thoughts and prayers all those that were affected by that tragedy not so long ago. Today, we want to drill in and make sure that each of you who have decided to be a white label partner, that you know what to do. And I guess sometimes we may think that you know what to do and you may not know what to do. So stepping back. So as a 501c3 nonprofit, our goal, our mission is to improve financial literacy and increase access to capital. So we're focused on helping people start and grow small businesses. Most people don't know what you and I know. There's a formula for funding. And here on 509pacific.org, we can go down to the bottom of the page in the footer, go to the checklist, and we teach on this, right? Because most people don't know what you and I know. And so there's no wonder that they don't have funding because they don't qualify. But a lot of times they don't even know what it means. So that's why we created this checklist. We educate on some of the most popular loan programs, certainly not all inclusive, but some of the most attractive. We're doing a number of deals that are in that $3 to $5 million range. So yes, it's certainly reasonable and attainable for businesses to not only get funding, but to even get large amounts of funding. But what does it take? Does it matter how badly you want money or how badly the client needs money? No. No lender cares about the emotions. They care about the numbers. Does the business look fundable? And so that's where we teach, what does it mean to have a fundable business? And so if you're not really familiar with this page and almost this glossary, you probably are shortchanging yourself and you're not going to be as good of a resource for clients. And then we offer to do this checklist. And we've been inundated, and I say that as a positive thing, not negative, but we've been inundated with the massive number of people that thankfully have come to this page. They're filling out the checklist and they're looking for feedback because they typically don't know what you and I know. So with all that being said, let's go back over to the white label partner page. And so our goal to work with each of you as distribution partners, we do a 50-50 revenue split. So you can't complain about that. There's no upfront cost to become a white label partner. We start by educating, what does it mean? How do we help others? How do we work with strategic partners? And then right here is how to become a white label partner. I'm not here to recruit anyone today. Now we'll get into the implementation talk, if you will. So assuming that you've become a white label partner, because if you come to 509pacific.org, white label partner, click here, it brings up an e-signature form, and that allows you to get set up. So after you've completed this, you should have received in short order an email that is your white label partner onboarding email. Usually we'll call and or text right afterwards and say, hey, thanks for signing up. Make sure that you see the email. And within the onboarding email, there's a couple training links, but there's also the client agreement. The client agreement comes to you in a Word editable format. The concept, the terminology of white label partner means that you're going out under your branding. So under your company, your image, you're able to control the pricing and you get the clients under contract. So you're obviously going to need to take that Word document, remove our information, add yours, change the pricing if you want. All that's remarkably simple. It's a very basic administrative task in Microsoft Word. But then you're going to need to get that contract into some sort of e-signature format because you're going to need to be able to sign clients up. And so DocuSign and Adobe are two of the more popular ones. It doesn't matter to us. Client sign the contract with you, client pays you, we do all the implementation. But let's divert now for a moment and start talking about payments. So if you're a white label partner, who does the client pay? They pay you. They pay you. And that's great, right? Because now your business is getting paid today. You're not waiting, and your business is making the gross income, the full amount. Some of you are more sophisticated and more experienced than others. And so we're kind of painfully learning that we probably need to do some more basic business training for some of our white label partners, which is fine. So that's what we're doing right now. So FreshBooks, I have no affiliation with FreshBooks. I don't have some link to give you, so I get a kickback. None of that nonsense. But what I hear from many of you are signing up for FreshBooks to be able to accept payments from your clients. And so I went straight to, well, I'll go back. I'll go to the main page of FreshBooks, and then I go to features, and then payments. That takes us back to where I was just a second ago. So you're going to need to accept payments from clients, right? As a white label partner, they're paying you. It's up to you how you want to do that. But many of you are using FreshBooks. And so if you're not using FreshBooks, you may want to consider it. You can try it for free. So it's not a budget constraint. No one can say, oh, I don't have money to get set up with FreshBooks so people can pay me. You can see how ironic that sounds, but you can try it for free. No credit card required. I think it's a 30-day free trial. Our model with our white label partners, going back to this page, is you know that you're going to make around $11,000 for each person you refer in. It's not get rich quick. It's not like winning the lottery. And there's so many of you that I realize $11,000 doesn't even make a difference in your world. It's a pittance to some of you. But we should be helping a person a week. Now we're at $44,000 a month. Not bad for a side gig or a side hustle, but you have to have some way for clients to contract with you and then for clients to pay you. So am I recommending or endorsing FreshBooks? No, I'll back off of that strong of a description, but it's what a lot of you are using. So just a yes or no for those of you on the live Zoom this morning, if you can type into the Q&A, how many of you are using FreshBooks currently? Yes, if yes, no, if no. And if you respond no, how are you accepting credit card payments from your clients currently? Just doing a quick survey. I won't tell anyone what you say individually, but let's just do a quick survey. Number one, are you currently signed up with FreshBooks so your clients can pay you via credit card? If yes, then nothing else. If the answer is no, then let us know how you're accepting payments. So, Jeanette, you said no, but you didn't tell me. How are you taking credit card payments from your clients then, Jeanette? Greg, same. You said no, but you're not telling me or us. So it's up to you. But FreshBooks is great. There's no upfront cost, and it's an easy way to accept Visa, MasterCard, Discover, American Express, and Apple Pay from your clients. So I'm just encouraging that. You need some way, but there's many other models to accept payments. But what I've heard is this is the quickest to get up and running. It's the freest, if that's a word. It's free initially, and so it's a good way to go. So what have we accomplished so far today? If you're not a white label partner, I think you should be one. It's great to help people make more money, number one. Number two, if you're a white label partner, look for your white label partner onboarding email, and you need to get your agreement ready. Without an agreement, you're not open for business. You're not going to make any money. If you can't find it, need help, calls or emails. Third, you need to be able to accept money from clients. And I feel almost insulting when I say that, but you need to be able to accept money from clients. How much money are you going to accept from the client? Well, typically, they're going to pay you $2,000 as a refundable deposit when they enroll in the 4-week funding program. So there's that. All right, so now let's address another issue that's very, very important. So let's say that you want to, let's go back to the white label partner page, and we talk about press releases. And so let me click on this, and this is actually the training video. It's going to pop up, and usually hits us with a commercial first, but we'll get through this commercial here for Wix. 3, 2, 1, and it'll get to the press release training that we did. Second, I'll pause it. So we'll skip that. So if I get YouTube Premium, I don't have commercials, but I'm too cheap for that. Okay, so we'll pause it here. So here's where you can get trained on how we work with churches and chambers and key influencers. Here's my advice. So certainly helping individual by individual is fine, but you'll wear yourself out if that's all that you do. So instead, we should be working with key influencers that can drive people in, and they can drive people in 10 at a time, 20 at a time, 100 at a time. We have a national chamber that we're launching with that'll be driving in probably 1,000 at a time. So if you want volume of numbers, we need to work with key influencers. Learn how to do that on this training. When we're working with groups, here's a real important point coming up, by the way. When we're working with larger groups, we tend to want to lead with education, because education is something that will allow us to build trust with the prospects, create a relationship with the prospects, and thirdly, create relevance. So what is it we use for education? Well, our platform, you can click here, which is also, by the way, down in the menu bar, Entrepreneurship Funding Program. So when we applied for the grant, we received a grant to do this for free. So let's do this for just a moment. Let's pull up 4-week funding. So don't be confused. There is free education that we do right here. 509 Pacific Entrepreneurship Program. This is free. And I'll talk more about it in a minute. Free. So how much do you make? Nothing. It's free. But this doesn't include the implementation. So clients that want the implementation, which is described on 4weekfunding.com, this is where they're enrolling and they're paying you typically the $2,000. You keep half. We get half. You get paid half for generating the client. We get paid half for doing all the work. Pretty fair. Now, before we get back to our education, which is really where I wanted to go, let's debate this. Let's say someone would say, well, what? You want me to pay something? I only want free. Well, if you want free, come over here and go through the free education. Very valuable. And I've encouraged you to participate. It's the real deal. You can learn all about it. I don't need to read it to you again on the entrepreneurship program. So if they want free education, I agree it should be free. But people are fucking fools if they think that the whole world is free. You know, why does a restaurant charge me for a meal? Why does my doctor charge me for services? Why does my accountant charge me to prepare a tax return? Because we live in a capitalistic society, right? We don't all live in a village where you're skinning the rabbits and I'm picking the carrots, right? So it's okay. And the way that the 4-week funding program works is it's a $5,000 program. The grant covers all 5,000. However, it's split. Part of it is an advance grant allocation, and the other part is refundable, but it's always free in the end. So this is 5,000 to go through this curriculum, lots of deliverables, lots of benefits. So this is really how you and I monetize, is building a fundable business. Now we can teach them for free, but we can't do all this for free. But the grant covers it. But the grant covers part of it at the point of enrollment, and the rest of it is reimbursable. So for what most of you are doing is you're explaining that, okay, you want funding, but you don't have a fundable business. Well, how do we know that? Well, we've been able to objectively assess that over here on the checklist, right? This is what it takes to get large amounts of funding. And then we assess them. Do you have it? Most people don't have it. And it's not like hand grenades or horseshoes where close matters. You either have these things or you don't have these things. And what these things are properly described here. Therefore, we applied for a grant. We received a grant to help people have all those things so they have a fundable business. there's a summary of what they get down here. So the grant will, the way that most of you are positioning it, the grant will advance $3,000 to each participant. That leaves $2,000. They will pay you $2,000, however you want to accept payments, normally through FreshBooks or what have you. And then that $2,000 is refundable. It comes back to them after they complete the program. So in the end, it's free. Now you might say, well, why would they have to pay anything if there's a grant? Why didn't the grant just pay all of it up front? Well, the people that approve the grant realize if people don't have skin in the game, they probably won't stick with it. And the grant money is real money, and so they don't want to just piss it away, that they want people that are receiving the benefits. So in the end, it is free. The grant will allocate $3,000 up front. It'll reimburse the other $2,000. So the clients will sign a contract with you. They'll pay you the $2,000, but you can make that more or less, remember, which is still a great deal. It's a refundable deposit. And so then we will handle the implementation. And then after the 4 weeks of prep, then what happens? Then we go for funding. Now you might have clients that say, well, I need funding sooner. Well, great. In week one of the things that we'll actually do is go pursue what type of capital they qualify for now. Many of you were on the training yesterday where we just launched yet another lender, and this lender will fund startups and literally has no minimum credit score. Now, it's not going to be the big 5 million or 3 million or 1 million amount, but some initial seed capital. We'll handle the implementation. You handle client development. Let's go back to education. So if we're going to work with key influencers, which typically will use the press release. So going back a moment. So we had the press release we learned about here. It was this training here. So normally we provide you an editable version of the press release. So you edit that, put your information on, then we start working with churches, chambers, other key influencers. So when we're working with them, what does it mean? Well, it means that we want to work with them as a key influencer to build the financial literacy of their sphere of influence. So the congregation of the church, the chamber members of the Chamber of Commerce, so forth. So it works very nicely to lead with education. So again, going back to the entrepreneurship program. So this is the way that many of you are funneling prospects in. You're not trying to sell them anything. You're not trying to collect money from them for anything, but we're saying, hey, are you looking for funding to start or grow a business? Yes. Well, great. Do you have a fundable business? Often the answer is, I don't know. Or worse yet, they'll say yes because they really don't know. And so they don't know how to answer. Well, if you want to assess them, if you want to assess them, or we can assess them on their readiness using the SBA checklist. But hardly anyone has a fundable business for the larger amount. So does that mean that they're not fundable enough for a little bit now, what we call seed capital? No, most people are fundable enough for a little bit, but that's not the end goal. So my point is that once they understand, okay, to get money, I have to be qualified. I have to be what you and I call fundable. Yes, that's right. The light bulb has gone off. If you can get them to understand that, everything else is simple. I want money, but I only get money, significant amounts of money, if my business is fundable. And this is what it takes to have a fundable business, as a checklist and as a full description. Great. I don't have this. Can you help me, Selena? Can you help me, Bill? Can you help me, Charles? We have 621 of you on this morning, which is a great number. So how do you say we can help them? Well, they could certainly go directly into the 4-week business funding program, whereby they would pay you the $2,000, you'd accept payment, and then we start the 28-day process. And or we could take them through the educational curriculum. So let's go back to that. So if you've not gone through our educational curriculum, you probably should. We host a general session on Wednesdays, which of course is today, at 1:30 Central. So you could register and start the next cohort, the next group. But what we offer to do is to set up workshops with you. Now, when I use the word workshop, don't be confused. So this in its entirety is one workshop. One workshop is composed of 4 sessions spread once a week over 4 weeks. Now you might say, well, why do we do that? Why don't we just knock it out all at one time? Well, this is not just telling them or teaching them or preaching to them. It's educating and then applying. So we're going to teach them about business plans and then help them build their business plan. We're going to teach them about forming a business and then help them form a business. We're going to teach them about what it takes to have a credible business, like the 3 C's, and then help them. So with that, you might say, well, there seems to be a disconnect, right? If we're going to take them through the educational curriculum, why would they ever want to enroll in this and pay money? Everybody would just want to go do the free. Well, the free teaches, but it does not include all the deliverables. So let's go over. So the 4-week business funding program is the implementation side. So for example, in week 1, we're using our software that I actually used to use when I worked for the SBA. We provide that for free for individuals that are in the 4-week funding program. We can't provide that for free for people that are just going through the educational curriculum. So instead, these folks have a paper-based version, which is still fine, still does the trick. But if they're actually in the fee-based program, they're using our online cloud-based, so it's better. Also, we're helping them start get money right away. If they're over here, we teach them about money, but we're not implementing. So if you can get in your mind, this is the education, this is the implementation. Well, why is it split in two? Well, because some people aren't ready to pay for the implementation because they don't trust you or they don't see the relevance yet. Well, fine. Take those people and run them through the education. 90 to 91% of the people that do this will trust you enough and see the relevance that they'll enroll in this. So the best funnel that you could ever have of driving people into the 4-week funding program is by driving them through the education. And in fact, most people will convert over from the free education to the fee-based 4-week funding program even before they finish it, because it becomes so relevant. So again, in the education side, we teach about business plans and we help them create one, but it's not using our SBA software, and it's also not including us getting them funding, because this is what you would call implementation, not education. Week 2, so you'll see the weeks match up, so it's fine for people to do both. So week 2, we talk about business formations. Hey, you're going to need a business, right? You're going to need an address. You're going to need a filing with the Secretary of State. You're going to need an EIN. You're going to need a bank account. And I realize some people already have that. But a business, that those are required elements to have a fundable business. So we teach about it here, so it's real. If they want us to provide them an address, then they have to be in the implementation side. We provide them an address for free. If they want us to file the entity and have the grant pay for it, so they don't have to pay for it, they have to be in the implementation side, and so forth. Same with week 3. Over here, we're talking about, well, what does it take to have a credible business? So we're going to educate them on what they probably don't know, but they need to know. Here, we're not educating, but we're implementing. So we're actually doing it. So hopefully that has helped your light bulb go off. You can drive massive numbers into the educational curriculum. It's a very easy proposition because there's no cost to them, and it's practical, it's real, it's helping them solve their problem. And from that, 90 to 91% of these people will then enroll in the 4-week funding program, which is where you monetize. So what would a logical person do? A logical person would say, great, I don't want to have to sell anything to anyone. I just want to drive a massive number of people through my workshop. Now, notice the words I just chose, my workshop. I'm going to explain how you get your workshop in a second. It didn't cost you anything. So you want to drive people into your workshop, and then the system will almost automatically convert almost everyone, 9 out of 10, into the fee-based program. Hopefully that's making sense now. I think that was missing from some of you. When we talk about your workshop, so if someone were to come to 509pacific.org entrepreneurship-program, I mean, this is it. I'm showing you the live website. Do you want to refer your people here? Absolutely no. No, no, don't refer your people here. No, don't do it. That's putting them into the general bucket. Don't do it. What we want to do instead, and it's free to you and it's still free to them, is we will set up a workshop for you, for your people. We'll teach it for free. We don't charge you anything. So it's the same concept, but now we're taking it, instead of for the general public, we're providing it for you. So like Mr. Barker's on this morning. Mr. Barker and I have a conversation tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central with a bishop that's over 20 or 21 churches. I'm restating to the best of my memory, so forgive me if I'm a bit off. So Mr. Barker gets it, right? He signed up as a white label partner. He's already brought in several clients, individuals, that's fine. So he's continuing to work that side, but he realizes the money's in the numbers. And so he's out contacting key influencers. He's facilitating those conversations using the press release that we provide you an editable version of, which the training is right here. And then we start implementing workshops for each, what we call host, each key influencer. So now we set up a workshop. So it'll be the same content, but it's only for Mr. Barker's, let's say, Church A. And then we'll have a different workshop for Church B. And we'll have a different workshop for Church C. We'll have as many workshops with you as you need for each group. Well, why would we want to separate the groups out? Why don't we just put them all into the general bucket? Well, you'll have your own registration link for your workshop. And again, I'm not trying to sell you anything. This doesn't cost you anything. This is us going above and beyond to help you earn an adult income by helping people improve financial literacy and access to capital. So what Mr. Barker realizes, and probably many of you realize, let's say you go to a bishop or a pastor or a faith-based leader. Can you use the press release to say, hey, we'd like to collaborate with you and help create new businesses and create new jobs? I don't know how many of you watched the presidential debate last night between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald J. Trump. But one of the things that came up is they're planning on putting additional tax incentives to form new businesses, which is awesome. So you and I are on the front end of this massive wave of the growth of a large number of small businesses. But what do they need? They need capital. So you can go to the bishop or the faith-based leader, or the chamber director, or the accountant, the bookkeeper, whoever the key influencer is. Use the press release, which you'll modify. You'll take our information off, put yours on. We'll get their agreement to host a workshop. We'll do the teaching. All those people are your leads. And on average, 90 to 91% of them will go from the education to the fee-based. So I need to stop rattling and start answering questions. Does this help? Are there questions that you have? But the most important things are the basics, right? If you're not a white label partner, sign up to be one if you want. Once you are one, get your client agreement edited and get it into an e-signature format, DocuSign, Adobe, what have you. Then make sure that you're able to accept payments. FreshBooks might be convenient. Use whatever system you want. But you need to be open for business. It's like opening a restaurant and not having any food, not the ability to collect money from the customers. Makes no sense. Get your white label partnership open for business. And then what we recommend is setting up the workshops to funnel people in. All right, so I see Harold's asking about free leads. Yes. So we have free leads, but what's the requirement? Okay, there's a couple requirements. There's no cost, but there's a couple requirements. So if you want our leads that we've developed, fine. What do you need to do? Number one, you have to be a white label partner. Number two, you need to be open for business, which means you need to have the client agreement ready for people to sign. Otherwise, you're not open for business. And you need to be set up to take payments. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get paid. And then we need to set up, lastly, your workshop. So, yes, we can give you leads. We can give you lots and lots of leads. And then what would you do? You and or your team would communicate to the leads. Now, these, I don't want to call them hot leads, but they're at least warm leads, or people have contacted us. So then you or your team will reach out to the leads and try to move them through the funnel. What would that be? The first thing we would do is have a workshop scheduled for you, and then all of your prospects would be fed into that workshop. So it's really easy. You're not trying to sell them anything. You're not trying to get money from them. You're trying to help them solve a problem, which starts with, hey, by the way, do you have a fundable business already? Oh, I don't know what that means. So then you should know what it means. You should be able to assess them. And when you assess them, then they realize, oh shit, I see the problem, right? I've wanted money for a long time. I've had these dreams, these passions, but I've not been able to execute them because I can't get money. Well, the problem is you, right? The problem is you. It's not the banks, it's not the lenders. You're not fundable. So we can teach them what fundable means as far as a checklist, and then we can turn around and start preparing them to become fundable for free. And again, 90 to 91% of the people that do this will say, oh, well, it's a no-brainer then to enroll in the 4-week business funding program, because all these deliverables are included, and it's essentially free because the $2,000 they pay you is a refundable deposit. Now, what if they say, well, that all sounds great, but I'm stone cold broke. I don't have 2,000. Well, you can lower the price. You can make the price lower than 2,000 if you want. You could also make it higher. You could set up a payment plan if you wanted, but also you could hire them. You could say, hey, Betty, seems like you got a great idea, but you really got some solvency issues. I'm looking to hire a couple workshop coordinators. Then hire the broke people. Let them go out, use the press release, and develop hosts that we follow the process with and do some sort of revenue share with them. So it's that biblical principle of teaching people to fish rather than giving them a fish. I don't think people want free. I think they need to be empowered. They need to be economically empowered. Well, you have the ability to help them create the cash flow they need so they can participate in the program that we've discussed. All right, any questions, comments, concerns on the big picture? We've hit several key items. If you're not a white label partner, please consider becoming one. If you are one, get your client agreement set up. Once you have your client agreement set up, you must be able to, and that means having it for e-signature, DocuSign, Adobe, what have you. You need to be able to accept payments. If you're not set up to accept payments, FreshBooks is great. If you want free leads, we can give you free leads. What questions, comments, concerns do any of you have on what we discussed today? All right, there's been a lot of notes here. I just want to flip through. Frederick asked about credit worthiness, so let's go over to that. We'll go to the SBA checklist, and we talk about credit worthiness. So yes, you need a 140 or higher for an SBA loan. That is a factual statement. Some of the lenders will want higher, closer to a 160 or a 165 FICO, Frederick. But technically, according to the standard operating procedures of the SBA, we need at least a 140. But what you're going to run into, Frederick and others, a lot of people, they don't think like business owners. They're over in the consumer mindset. So they're thinking about consumer credit. They're saying, well, credit scores don't even go that low. Well, sure, you're thinking about consumer credit. You and I deal in a world of business. So there's different credit scoring algorithms. We're talking about FICO SBSS. So it's a different algorithm. There's an algorithm for mortgages, there's an algorithm for car loans, and there's many different algorithms, and there's also one for business lending. But the nice thing is we don't have to teach you to be an expert in all of this. We're going to teach, we're going to implement. We've spent years, we've spent decades learning this material. We don't have some secret way of getting you to have expertise in all this to go implement. But guess what? You don't need to have the expertise. You can become a white label partner and we can get you up and open for business within 24 hours because we do the implementation. So you don't have to know all the details. I mean, anything you want to know is fine, but we don't have to train you on implementation. You deliver the clients, we deliver the education and implementation. Any other questions anyone has before we wrap it up today? Ran long, I apologize. All right, well, I encourage you, it's up to you. If you're looking to earn a decent side income, here is a way to do it. There's no upfront cost, so you can't give me that barrier. You can't say, oh, I don't have money to get a merchant card account. I'm showing you how to get one free for the first 30 days. We're really out of excuses. We're out of excuses. Let's go help people. Let's make money. Let's make the world better. See you all tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.